Please don't hear any of this, Brad.
And Dad's like, I got the fuck out of there. I was like, oh man, you didn't partake?
Do you fear death?
Oh, one of the greatest lines of all time.
I could have chopped it. I could have chopped it.
Trumpinator 2020.
Making me 30 signs of red sauce.
Listened to so much. Are you
That needs two, motherfucker.
Who do you think's going to the Super Bowl?
I mean, you know who I...
Do you think the Chiefs... Well, what I'm saying...
I think the Chiefs are going to go. I mean...
If they have home field advantage and the Bills play in Kansas City, they obviously have, in the past, historically have won.
After they won today, they only have to win like one more game. If the Bills lose one...
If the Bills lose, it's over for the one seed.
It's locked up.
Yeah.
But all the Chiefs have to do now is to win one more of their next two to lock it up, right?
Kansas City basically has to lose out to get... Because they've only got one loss, right?
Yeah.
So the Bills have 3, so... But Bills would have the head-to-head, so Kansas City would have to lose out.
I'm not sure what the scenario... Earlier in the game, they were talking the scenarios where the Bills could still make it, and I thought there was some way that the Chiefs still had to win 2 out of the next 3, including today. So...
Maybe.
Hell, I don't know. But yes, I believe it's good. I don't know, man. I was really pulling for the Lions all year too, but
dude, that was a hard game. I love the Lions and that Bills-Lions game. I was obviously going for the Bills, but man, what an exciting game that was.
I mean, they've just like
there were 90 points scored in that fucking game, dude.
They're down like 10 defensive players.
That many? I got some injuries. That's a lot.
Oh, dude, they've got like basically their entire defense is gone. They've got guys off the street playing. And, I mean, that's why they're giving up 40 points a game. You know, it's one thing to score 42 a game, but if you're giving up 44, yeah.
But who else? I mean, the NFC is pretty stacked, and mostly in the North. I mean, you got Green Bay is still playing pretty well, Minnesota, Philly, obviously.
I don't have any faith in Philly.
I don't know that I do either.
Their defense has come on and played real strong lately, but I don't know. I just don't have any faith in them. Something about Jalen Hurts. I don't know.
They're not playing dominant football, but you also don't have the Niners in the pack this year like you've had in the last few years, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of parity in the league, which I like.
Which is good.
I mean, you know, I'm a big Chiefs fan, but I mean, I can admit that this is one of the less dominating teams that they've put on the field.
True.
But their defense shows up. And
yeah, they do.
Like today, again, they showed up and just crushed them. And if they can keep doing that, Pat Mahomes didn't have to do a lot. He was out there on one wheel today and looked great.
Yeah, he did.
He looked better than he did last week.
Really good.
Yeah, so
whatever that happened, dude got hurt. Did they ever say?
Dell? I didn't hear the details.
I never did hear.
They just said he was out for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
It looked pretty painful, so I don't know.
But it didn't look as bad as what getting carted off like that.
Yeah, I mean,
but you never know. The human body's a weird deal. Like,
dude,
some hits don't look bad, but are terrible, and vice versa.
I tell you what, when I snapped my leg in half, like I snapped it right below the knee, right here in Eureka Springs. When I came to, like I kind of.
How the fuck did you do that?
Rolled down some stairs, like.
That old thing.
We had a bar in Eureka, and they had some concrete stairs that went up, kind of twisted around, and didn't have a handrail, and they were all different sizes and widths and lengths. And I was going down through there at night, and the rain had washed out a hole in the front of one of the steps, and the heel of my sandal got stuck in it, and I went rolling down through there.
Broke the thing?
Oh, dude, I've got a steel plate that goes from here to here.
Wow.
And there's 9 pins in it, but the foot was facing this direction and stuff. But I came to, and I didn't feel it at all. I was just laying there, like, looking at the sky, and I was like, oh, man, I'm all right. I'm okay. And I sat up, and I realized I'd broken the bones in this hand real bad. Like, I couldn't pick myself up on it. But I kind of looked at my hand, and I was like, all right, I'm okay. And I felt a scrape on my head. Then I looked down and saw my leg, and went into shock, and just laid back in the grass, and just looked at the trees.
I can't imagine, like, your foot's facing the wrong way. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was at a 45 degree this way, and then foot
9 pins?
Yeah, it's a mess.
That's nuts.
the doc said it looked like a shotgun. It shot or gun had shot me in the leg, like it was just exploded. So he went in and put like pins back in where all the big chunks were left, and then sucked out all the little like dust particles that were left of the bone, and then and then I couldn't walk on it for a year.
So when was this?
2011.
God, dog.
August 21st, 2011. It was my friend's birthday party. And my cousin was DJing at the bar, so I was going back over to meet him and take him to my house, and didn't quite make it.
Does it bother you still? Is it
Only when the weather changes.
That's what, so you can sense stuff.
Oh, barometric pressure.
Yeah,
man, I had a doctor explain it to me like this, and anyone that's always says, "Well, I can feel it," in my surgery. Well, there's a reason for that. The atmosphere is like water.
Yeah.
It's like barometric, pressure is like
Sure.
water pressure. So anytime the barometric pressure drops, the pressure on your body drops.
right.
Your body expands.
Yeah.
But the metal doesn't.
Right.
So
okay,
you're expanding against the metal.
That makes sense. I've never heard that explanation.
And then when the barometric pressure goes the other direction, your body shrinks down a little bit because the pressure goes up and the metal doesn't. So
it's definitely a real thing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a real phenomenon.
I mean, it doesn't take much, especially when you've got a ton of metal in a spot.
Easily explainable, yeah.
Yeah, it aches for a reason.
Does that shit go off in airport security? Is that
no?
will it
I
beep
kind of
anything?
wished it would. But it doesn't. No, man. I was hoping I'd get scanned and dinged on that, but here, take off your pants. None of that.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was a pretty horrible day. That was my wife started college the next day. Like she just went back to school, like that next day, and I was in the hospital. Yeah, they put me on a helicopter and flew me over to Fayetteville. $16,100 to fly from Eureka Springs to Fayetteville in a helicopter.
What does insurance do with a bill like that? Do they cover any of it? Like
I didn't have insurance.
you didn't have insurance.
No.
Fuck, dude.
They ended up writing it off eventually. The hospital charged me $88,000 because I was in there for 8 days. I was that jacked up. My leg was screwed up.
I mean, that's a bad deal.
Yeah, and they had to wait for a while to do surgery on it.
Was it one surgery or multiple?
It was just one.
Just
They had
one?
to wait. But yeah, $88,000 for the hospital bill, $16,000 for the helicopter flight, and then here's how you know how much a hospital really has to charge you. Once they figured out I didn't have insurance, they $3,000.
Dude, how corrupt is that whole system?
$88,000 to $3,000.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
To hear you explain
Then the
it like
life
that.
flight. After that, I started getting insurance notifications for life flight for like $50 a year or whatever. You can, or it's not a lot, but you
Yeah.
can have life flight coverage and cover your flight to the hospital if you ever need another one. Hopefully that's out of my system and I never need another one.
Yeah.
There was a guy that used to hang out at JRs named Vance. You probably would remember him. He was a little short guy. He sat at the end of the bar by the cooler door.
Yeah.
He was a nurse. He had a mustache.
Yeah.
And Vance. He was always down there flirting with Seamus.
Yeah. That does ring a bell.
He told me some horror stories about him being a nurse. Well, I didn't see Vance for years. And then that night when they put me on the helicopter, I'm laying there and I'm in serious pain. They've shot me full of morphine, so it's not helping. They put me on the helicopter. I'm laying there looking at the ceiling, and then I see Vance's face poke out over mine. He's like, "Well, hot damn, Chris Gray, I knew I'd get you on a table one of these days." They said, "Hit him with the whatever." It was fentanyl or something, whatever it was. It was something horribly powerful. He said, "Hit him with it," and they hit me with it. And I finally calmed down, and I was like, "Oh." And Vance is laughing at me. He looks at the other guy, and he's a big boy. Hit him again. So they double loaded me with the painkiller, and then I'm just laughing.
Yeah.
The whole way to Fayetteville, I'm like, "Fly down by Dixon Street, get up sideways so I can flip everybody off." Yeah, that was the only good part of that trip.
That's good times.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Vance in probably 15 years, and then there he is.
How long were you on, like a crutch, or what?
I was in a wheelchair for.
Were you?
For over 6 months. I couldn't put any weight on it at all because I didn't have anything in there. It was just, like I said, bone chips with with pins in it. So until it grew back together and basically built a ladder back, I couldn't put any weight on it. So it was almost a year before I could really walk at all.
Were you able to work during then?
Not much. I was trying to run the bar up there like from a distance. I'd hobble down on my wheelchair, my crutches and stuff. Our bar, you've been to Eureka. Everything's upstairs.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no good way to get into anything, and ours was especially like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd hobble down there and do liquor orders and stuff, but it was a mess. Like I said, and the wife had just started college. It was really bad timing.
When did you start working down on Dixon? Because I met you at JRs Lightbulb Club in the 90s when my band started playing there. How long have you been doing it already?
That was my first job in Fayetteville.
Was it?
Second job.
What year were you born?
73.
Okay. So I'm 81, so.
I'll be 52 in March.
Nice.
But I moved up here, it's 94, I guess, and was living with my buddy Nigel and then Reed Rayleigh.
Oh, yeah.
Reed was living with us. We all lived down on Betty Joe Drive. And back when it was still like 3 blocks of hood, and it was dead.
Yeah.
It was just the worst neighborhood in town.
Oh, yes.
And but Reed and I got jobs at Dippin' Dots, like at the mall.
Really?
Yeah, me and Reed had like hair down to his butt and stuff. You know, but I think we both made it in about 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, and got out of that. Reed got another job doing something. Nigel was working at Jose's, and my first job though was at JR's.
Right.
And so I worked there for years. Got fired. Went to work at a strip club. Got fired. I quit that, and then went back to JR's. Got fired. I got fired from JR's twice.
What are you doing to get fired so consistently?
I didn't get fired from the strip club. No, that was me conflating some things. No, I got fired at JR's for just being out of control. I mean, first time they made an example out of me.
Right.
I mean, I heard that years later. They were like, dude, we had to like cut the head off someone that they didn't expect.
Yeah.
Like we had to surprise the entire staff.
Sure.
I was like, I get it. I was being a prick. And then the second time, I was doing game show and stuff. It was just being generally, pretty fast and loose with laws. and
I love how you put that.
Yeah,
with laws.
With laws and standards and things that might have gotten the business shut down.
Legal things, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But that's a wild life to live because you're up till what time? When do you get off work?
Oh, dude, we would never.
2 in the morning?
Well, the bar would close at 2 and we wouldn't get done, closing till 3. And then 9 times out of 10, especially back then, we would sit around and play 3-ball back in the pool room till daylight. Jimmy was still single when I first started working there. And he would show up and like be sober, and we'd all had been drinking for a while after work. He'd like ice down a case of those old tall boy Coors Lights back before they were still returnable.
Yeah,
we take those back there in the back and play 3-ball, which was you just put 3 balls on the table. Everybody puts in $1 and try to make it the fewest shots. Blah blah blah. But we'd go back there and play that till daylight, and Jimmy would just take all of our money, take all of our tip money. He was so much better than us, especially when he was sober.
Yeah.
But he would get us drunker so he could just rip us all off.
Run you guys fucking.
Yeah. So we'd do that till daylight and then, and then go home and, we'd have to be at work until 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
So it's like, working 4 or 5 hour shifts.
But it's just such a wild lifestyle. Like the
I couldn't do
shit
it
you see.
I couldn't do it anymore, man. I don't even like to drive at night, much less work
Right.
at night. Yeah.
Well, you had to have seen some crazy shit working.
There's weird stuff that happened everywhere that I've ever worked. JR's was just rowdy,
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like it. I was from Sulphur Rock, Arkansas. Population of 400.
Yeah.
Batesville, essentially, but still just outside of Batesville.
Batesville, okay.
And I got up here and walked in, and the first time I'd ever been in JR's, Nigel was going down there to meet Brian Petty, who worked with him at Jose's. Brian was playing bass for Dolly Automatic.
Yeah.
And I went down there and watched them sound check while Nigel was talking to Brian, and was just like, oh my God, this is
cool.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I moved here. You know? And was just hooked. And that's when I realized I wanted to work down there.
Right.
But, oh God, I mean,
What a play! Like I
mean,
can't even.
I've had dudes like teeth stuck in my hand. You know, I mean, you know, people ask for it. You know, I used to be able to get away with stuff like that too. You know,
Oh, it's a different world now.
yeah. One of the reasons I got hired was because I worked at a psychiatric crisis unit, and one of the skills they taught us there, by this Marine taught us, was non-injurious takedown and restraint.
Right.
So, you know, essentially not go down
Yeah.
there and just kill the patrons.
Right.
Because Dougie was just in there beating the hell out of people.
You're right.
I mean, you had to.
Sometimes.
I mean, there, you know, those frat brawls and stuff.
Oh,
15
God,
dudes
yes.
going at it. But yeah, so I was going in there to try to not hurt people. But every once in a while, man.
It was a really cool time in the 90s in Northwest Arkansas because there was, I felt like there was a lot of focus on local music, like original music,
There was, man.
for just a minute.
The problem now, like between then and now, is like I think there are probably more bands around now.
Yeah.
There's probably a bigger variety.
Sure.
It's just the venues seem to be disappearing because of
Yeah.
you know this greed is essentially
Yep.
it. But it's really hard to do live music and make money on it.
Sure.
And run a venue that makes money because
Yep.
you know unless you're forcing the bands to pay for it out of their pocket, out of their
Exactly.
door. You're paying for sound, you're paying for upkeep on equipment. You know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot that goes into it. Sure.
Yeah, there's way more than just opening the doors and turning on a speaker. You know.
We were talking about this the other day. You remember Clunk?
Oh yeah.
I mean that for being like, I think we were 16 when we started playing Clunk, and it was just so cool that there was a place that you could just play.
Yeah.
You know, being just get an opportunity to get up on stage in front of your buddies. And it didn't serve anything, but it was just a cool.
You know, after Clunk disappeared, you know, there were a lot of places that did DIY spots like Backspace,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. There's been several over the years.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming more of those are going to start popping up. You know, now that Smoke and Barrel shut down recently, Waystone Pizza is actually trying to buy their PA to just take the
Really?
PA straight out of there, take it over to Waystone,
Yeah.
set it up, start running the live music scene out of there. At least that portion of it. A lot of those bands that were coming through and playing, like The Salesman and Protohive and all these local bands that play there, they still need a spot like that. And I'm glad Waystone's stepping up. But hopefully some more of the DIY spots show up too. I feel like as an old dude, it feels weird hanging out at like a house party to see a band because it's always a bunch of youngsters.
Yeah.
But I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of shows out at the VA hall now too.
Really?
Yeah, moshing around the Christmas tree was last week. It's just like a big punk show,
Yeah.
fundraiser. I think
Yeah.
he had 8 bands playing.
Nice.
So, yeah, I think the American Legion Post maybe it's where it is, in the south end of town.
I'm so unplugged from all of it, man.
I just see the advertisements. I haven't been to one of the shows down there yet, but I see they're doing them.
Yeah.
I know that they had a couple of punk shows there where some of the kids went there and like did what punks do and graffitied the place up and stuff, and then there was a big like backlash from the rest of the punk scene and the rest of the metal kids and stuff. Like, do not do that. These guys are vets. They're doing us a favor letting us have this place.
Exactly. Don't be an ass.
So if you're gonna have DIY spots like that, you got to treat them with some respect. Or we won't have those either.
No, somebody's always got to fuck it up for everybody, though.
Always.
Every single time. There's always some bullshit.
Man, people will try to get away with anything they think they can get away with. Like, no matter how bizarre, if you can think of it.
If you
they're
can
gonna
think
try
it, yep.
I think I may have told this story when I was on Nicole's podcast. Right when I was working at JRs, one of the problems we had was on Monday nights we had buckets of beer.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I started doing game shows to try to entertain the kids.
That was a fun deal.
Yeah,
It's cool.
Something to keep their minds off destroying the bar, because they were taking those old Budweiser bottles, the heavy bottles we used to get, putting them in the toilet, stomping them in there, and cracking the toilets in half, like every Monday. And we'd have to
No shit.
Yeah, me and Al Tauber and Chris Coney, all of us, we replaced at least half a dozen toilets before Benton and Wade and Chris decided to put in a trough.
Yeah.
So they put in that metal trough down there, but they made the bathrooms upstairs real nice in the
Yeah.
pizza place. So there was an option. So right after they put the trough in, I go in there on a Monday night. I was working security, and like early, like 9:30, 10 o'clock, place is packed. there's some kid in there. He has pooped in the trough, and he is up on the trough, standing on the trough, trying to get to the hand roller. Remember the old hand roller hand towel thing?
Yeah.
He was trying to get to that with his ass, so he could wipe his ass on that. And I lost it, man. I was so mad. I grabbed him by the head and just took him out, and drug him through the crowd with his ankles around his feet, screaming. I was just seeing red. I was so furious.
What makes a person do that? PCP? Like, they're just stupidity.
Horrible parents.
Man, I gotta say, like, a lot of the shit going on now, like, I know there's a lot of talk about banning TikTok and all this stuff. Parents need to step the fuck up. Parents do not discipline their kids anymore.
Man, I don't have kids. And there's a reason for that. I never wanted any kids.
You never wanted kids, really?
No, man.
Really?
Never, ever, ever. And my wife didn't either, thank God. By the time I met her, I was already an old man. And
How long you been married now?
We got married. Listen, we've been together since 2009.
Okay.
But we got married in 2016. So 8 years.
Yeah.
We got married on Leap Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's
so we
cool.
Make it
Yeah.
like, I don't know when my anniversary is.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have another one coming up for 3 years.
Yeah. So we do have a nephew that we've been taking care of a lot. He's 3 years old. So
Yeah, you said something about that.
We didn't have any kids at all, and then we got custody of our niece at one point, back when she was 15. Let's see, 2018, right around there. 2017. God, I don't remember. It all blurs together.
Yeah.
We had her for a few years, and then she moved out as soon as she could.
Yeah.
Went on, got married, had a kid.
What was that relationship like while she was there?
It was great. She was troubled.
Yeah.
Had a lot of trouble with the truth.
Yeah.
Still does.
Yeah.
She grew up. I would say feral is a pretty good description.
Wow.
Her and her brothers.
No kidding.
Yeah, her mom's.
Like, no supervision. Just...
Yeah, I mean, burned out. Acid-related stuff. Like, I heard the story of her mom sticking her hand in a bathtub of acid they were making, like in a vat, like just in the liquid. I don't know, but she was doing pretty good considering how she was raised. But yeah, it had its difficulties, but anyways, she's not here now. Don't really know where she is. And her ex-husband now has been living up here near us, and we've been helping take care of the kid and stuff.
Okay.
So that was like no kids to a troubled 15-year-old girl to no kids to helping raise a toddler.
Yeah.
So it was just like, wow.
But what's that like? Are you enjoying that? Or...
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, I love being the fun uncle, the funkle. And my wife, absolutely, she's a therapist that, like, she specializes in child trauma therapy.
Oh, wow.
So,
Dude,
she's really, really, really good with him.
how does she handle, like, how does she cope with that? She's got to hear some horrible, horrible things.
Man, she worked at the juvenile district court for a little while she was in school, and that was rough.
I don't know how people do those jobs, seeing kids in those situations. I couldn't handle it.
Most of what she does now is with adults. She has a few a few children clients.
Right.
But she's in private practice now, so it's not nearly as many kids. But when she worked at the JDC, it was all kids. And then she got out of there. She worked at Ozark Guidance, Arissa Health now.
Right.
That was a lot of kids, and it was completely overloaded. Like, she had like 120 something patients there.
But wouldn't that just destroy your faith in humanity to see the horrible shit
It
the kids have to go through?
Yeah, I think it does, but then it also, if you accept it, that's just the way humanity is.
Yeah.
And then you also accept it, okay, now I can do my part to help a few of them. You never know how that butterfly effect, works out in the long run.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
all you can do is, throw your rock in the pond and try to make some good ripples,
Yep.
So that's the way she looks at it, I think. And, she really enjoys it, especially now. I mean, she's a private practice. She gets to limit her clientele.
Sure.
She's not overwhelmed. She's, she's able to focus on her clients, whether they're adults or children. She can actually pay attention to them now, as opposed, so when she was at Ozark Guidance, it was insane.
Yeah.
Like, she might not be able to see a patient for 2 months.
Yeah.
You know, some kid in need and couldn't see
Yeah.
him for 2 months. So,
That's a failed system too, you know.
God, yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know. That's people ask, you know, what's wrong with kids today? You know, why are kids shooting up schools? I think it's a lot of it's due to we force them on medications when they're 12 years old, and then make them stay on those medications till they're 18, and then they turn 18 and they're like, I'm not taking this anymore, or they can't, like, they somehow end up losing their medication,
right.
losing their insurances and whatnot, and then next thing you know, these kids are cold turkey off medications, and then I mean, I don't know, that just feels like a part of it to me. But
again, that goes like, I think parents are too eager to get their kids on a pill to try and fix things that are not required, like maybe work through this thing.
Well,
versus
that's what my wife, that's what she does.
Playing on
She's
easy
a
mode.
Therapist.
Right.
She doesn't prescribe medication at all. That's what psychiatrists do. She helps people talk through things and get to a point where they're happy and, okay with life.
Right.
And instead of just drugging them.
Right.
And it's, I don't know. I don't like to take medication for anything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like to take aspirin if I don't have to.
Yeah, sure.
And, the thought of, I know lots and lots of people benefit from it. My dog is on Prozac.
Sure.
I've got a 105-pound Aussie who needs Prozac.
Right.
Otherwise, he is just a nervous wreck.
Really?
Well, he's
just spazzing out.
A lot of it has to do with our nephew.
Really?
Well, he has one little sheep, our nephew.
Yeah.
And if he's not around, he's just, where's my sheep? Where's my sheep? It's his one little sheep,
that's
man.
Funny.
And he guards him like when he's at the house, that dog is on him. I mean, just right on his tail, like to his right, like heels.
It's pretty adorable.
It's really sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his baby, and he's going to make sure he's safe. So when he's not around, he really frets about it. Or if he is around and he's doing something like, we built a bunk bed the other day. He was up on the top bunk. Mowgli couldn't get to him.
Yeah.
It was the end of the world.
Are you serious?
Yeah, just if he can't get to him, he can't like physically be there to save him.
Yeah.
He acts like it's the end of the world. It's the cutest thing. And then I've got a little Aussie who kind of follows the big Aussie and herds him while he's herding the little kid. It's a cute little train.
Yeah, that's funny. So, even like having the relationship with this kid doesn't make you want to have kids?
Oh no, I'm 51 years old, man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're a little past that point now.
No,
but
man.
that's still a cool experience, though, to be able to be a part of his life.
Oh, I love it, and we're always gonna be. I mean, he's, they named him after my dad.
Really?
Yeah, I won't use his name just
for
privacy.
Yep.
Yeah, they named him after my dad.
Awesome.
I always thought that was, and they never even met my dad. My dad died right before we met my niece.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was just awfully sweet that they even did that, just because out of respect, But yeah, we'll always have him as part of our lives. I hope. I mean, there's no reason for us not to.
Right.
But he's just adorable, and he has hair like Robert Plant.
God.
He hasn't had a haircut yet.
Oh, really?
He's 3 years old, a little over 3 years old.
Yeah.
And like some of it's broken off in the back just because it's real long, curly, like crazy blonde curly hair.
Yeah.
But he's got one, like 2 or 3 in the middle, like this rat tail that just bounces around that hangs all the way down to his butt. But it's just big, giant, crazy blonde curls. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, we never cut our kids' hair when they were little. They still got long hair to this day.
If I still had any on top, I might still have long hair too, but I just think it looks ridiculous when I try to grow it out now.
I never saw you with long hair, did I? Did you have long hair back in the 90s?
Yeah. When I first moved to Fayetteville, I didn't.
Did you have it back?
Quite a bit, yeah. I had a ponytail for a long time.
Is it?
Man, when I first moved to Fayetteville, I didn't get a haircut. Like, the whole time I was working at JRs, I didn't get a haircut. By the time I got fired that first time, my hair was like down past my shoulder, like a few inches past my shoulders. And then I had it long the whole time I was working at the strip club. And then, God, I don't remember when I finally cut it. I didn't cut it for like 6 years. And then I cut it, and then I started shaving it.
So if you came out...
Then I moved to Eureka and grew it back out again.
What year did you move here?
94.
And that's when you met Nigel? Like when you moved
No, I
up
knew
here?
Nigel
Or
from.
did you know him?
I knew him from junior high.
Oh, y'all went to school together?
Yeah, yeah. His mom was my English teacher.
Oh, really?
She.
Y'all came up together?
Yeah, we moved up here together.
Oh, okay.
Nigel and his mom moved to Sulphur Rock when I was in 9th grade. Nigel was in 7th grade. So it was me and Nigel and my buddy Joel. Joel was in 8th grade. Nigel was 7th. I was in 9th. So it was 1, 2, 3 of us. And he said his mom taught English and journalism and stuff there at Sulphur Rock High School.
Nice.
She was my favorite teacher. She was kind of a hippie chick. Was into rock and roll and stuff.
Yeah.
And she let Nigel's friends come over and listen to the stereo real loud. We'd crank Metallica to blast the windows out and
Yes,
stuff.
sir.
So we were tight like that.
Sounds like a cool lady.
Oh, she was awesome. She still is. She actually moved up here too.
Did she?
She works at a law firm in Farmington.
Wow.
Yeah, she secretary at some law firm there.
Nice.
Yeah, she's been up here for years too.
Nigel
a lot of us
lives in
moved up here.
Farmington?
Nigel lives in Farmington.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually lives a quarter mile from his mom's office.
Yeah. I got to hit him up. I haven't seen him since the days either, man.
Man,
And I worked a lot more closely with him than you because, I mean, like he was doing sound and
Yeah.
he was amazing. He'd get you dialed in. Like he'd have a few.
he'd always build from the drums up.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
'cause he's a drummer.
Yeah.
He'd
Yeah.
always-
Exactly. Yeah.
And some bands didn't like the gigantic drum sound he tried to put in it.
Yeah. Oh, I loved his sound. Well, weren't out there hearing it, but the mix we got,
Have you seen Pyrocratic?
Huh?
Oh man, they're good.
Is that his?
It's his band. It's him and
his
Brian
band?
Abel and Evan Gardner.
Yeah.
It sounds like old school kind of post punk kind of, I don't know, Fugazi Helmet.
Yeah,
Sort
yeah.
of kind of.
So he's still
Quicksand.
grinding at it. He's
Yeah.
still doing it.
Yeah, he's the event coordinator, like the head event coordinator. He's some kind of in management at the U of A at the Union. Like he basically runs all the events at the Union.
No shit.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, he's doing great for himself.
Awesome.
But no, his band's fantastic.
Cool.
They're playing. Or they played on the 14th. I think they're playing again sometime early January. But they've been playing at Waystone. Man, Meteor Guitar Gallery's shutting down now too.
Really?
Yeah, I just heard that yesterday.
Man,
So I was going to say they played up there, but hey, that one's shutting down as well.
I don't even recognize Dixon anymore. We went down there to the Walton Arts Center to see Mark Norman when he came up, and dude, I hadn't been down there forever. It's just unrecognizable to me.
Man,
People walking around with fucking drinks on Dixon. I was like, what
that
is this?
I love that part. I love that part.
That's
man.
cool. Oh, that's absolutely cool.
They made that a law.
The sky rises and shit.
Well, they made that a law a few years ago where any city in Arkansas that has an entertainment district,
Right.
An official entertainment district, can have cups on the street.
Right.
Well, no place in Arkansas besides the River Market was designated that way
Right.
until a few years ago.
Yeah.
They changed it up here.
Yeah.
And now they've had beer on Sundays finally.
God, about time. Me and my buddy still were talking about the evolution of Sunday travel. Like, we used to have to go to Jane, Missouri, right, on a Sunday, and then every fucking car in the parking lot was Arkansas plates, and then it was Springdale, and now finally we got it.
Man, I grew up in a dry county and it's still dry.
Yeah.
Over Independence County's still dry.
But, like, what's the logic behind no beer on? I mean, is that just a holdover from the Bible Belt?
I think they
bullshit?
think that I think the problem with Independence County is that they think Independence County will become Jackson County. Jackson County is a shithole.
Is it?
Newport, Arkansas.
Oh,
which is-
Newport's in Jackson County?
That's where
Okay,
everyone
yeah.
used to have to drive to get beer.
Yeah.
And or Tuckerman, which is in the middle of nowhere, out in Elgin, out that direction.
Yeah.
But Newport, there's a weed plant there now, or weed farm, a prison, and a bunch of liquor stores.
Wow.
And that's all Newport's been for decades.
Yeah.
And it's a dump.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also a flat, horrible, dry spot.
Right.
It's full of giant mosquitoes. It's not Batesville.
Yeah.
I think that's what they fear. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I used to have to drive 32 miles to the liquor store. And when I was in college, I went all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like, hey, Chris, you go to the liquor store with us, we'll get you a free 6-pack. Okay, fine. So like 8 trips, during the week, you'd have a couple cases by the weekend for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a bad deal.
Hello, kitten.
Hey.
Hi.
Uh-oh.
I like cats.
Taking a liking to you.
I like cats. I've got
Might
2.
be her first appearance on the show.
I've got 2 cats and 3 dogs. Yeah, they all live together in harmony.
Do they really, or are
They
you
love each
joking?
other. No, they
Do
love each other. They're great.
It was funny bringing them in because we had two, like our guard dogs at the time, two old kind of mutts, and when we first brought them home, man, those it was this, and it's just so funny to watch. Then like a month later, that Bastette's her name, she'd be curled up next to one of the dogs, just for the warmth. Like, it's just so funny because when you first introduce them, man, it's obviously cats and dogs, but like once they get familiar and know each other, now it's it's cool.
My puppies have all come up with cats. So like the cats were in the house before the dogs, so they
Yeah.
they just grew up with them as they're just here, so
Yeah.
they've never really had any issues with them. I've rolled through a few in the years over just various illnesses and stuff.
Yeah.
But they've all gotten along real well. So
Well, you saw my vicious attack dog that came after you. You barely made it in here, basically.
I know I had to crawl up on the car hood.
I know.
And then jump.
Yeah, it was pretty traumatic. It's weird because my mother-in-law breeds Shih Tzus, and so she was going to retire because my father-in-law was a truck driver. He was coming off the road, so she was going to retire with him. So she had this last batch of Shih Tzus and wanted all her kids to have one, right? It's like, all right, let's bring this guy on here. Well, he's not the little lap dog like we expected. He wants to be outside with the big dogs.
Oh yeah.
Because we've got two Pyrenees that run around here now, and he's with them. Like, I'll never forget, like, they had brought a deer carcass up one time, and I went outside, and Mo's just getting after it, his face just covered in blood. He's got meat hanging off him. I got a picture of it. It's like this savage Shih Tzu, man. It's an evil pit. I'll show it to you before you leave. But yeah, he's a funny little animal, man.
And my grandma had one when I was little. His name was Chan, and just the most contrary little dog in the world. He was just pissed about everything all the time. He's just screaming about it.
Yeah.
And, oh God, I used to hate him.
Isn't it funny how animals have such distinct personalities?
Oh God, all my dogs definitely have distinct
So
personalities.
distinct.
Baloo, he's a Pyrenees Chow Lab mix. He looks like a big black Pyrenees with a white stripe down the front.
Ooh, interesting.
And but he reminds me of Walter Matthau. Like, something about him, I just think Walter Matthau.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Like he might be Walter Matthau reincarnated. I don't know. Especially when he kind of rough his hair up a little bit. I mean, he looks like a little old man. And the other, like the big boy, Mowgli, he's my medium dog. He's medium aged. He's about 105 pounds, and he's like Lenny on Of Mice and Men. He played with the rabbits a little too hard.
Yes, I get you.
And then Minka's our little one. She's another Aussie. She's somewhere between a mini and a regular Aussie, but she looks like a sweet potato.
Right.
Yeah, just a lump.
Well, you mentioned Walter Matthau. Like, have we seen the death of the movie star, do you think? Is Hollywood collapsing, like, right in front of us?
I don't know, man.
Because who are the big celebrities today? Like, it just doesn't feel the same. Like, when I was growing up, like, Johnny Depp would bring people into the theaters, right? Or Clooney or Pitt or whoever it was. Now, like, who's bringing people into the theater? What name?
Man, I don't know. You're making me feel like an old man now because I feel like I'm pretty, like, current with such things. But you're right.
And I'm not super plugged into all that shit, but it just doesn't seem like there's stars like there used to be.
Here's
It's
how I
all
know,
franchises and CGI now.
that's why the actors were protesting last
Yeah.
year.
Yep.
Because they know it's coming. They know they're
Yeah.
about to just be written out of. They don't need them in background shots anymore at all. And even stars.
Yeah.
I mean, I can make a video on my phone that looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger's talking to me. And it's pretty believable. And that's
Yeah.
just on my phone.
Well, it's just so you take digital recording in the '90s changed the game, right?
Yeah.
You could make a record from home that sounded equivalent to something you heard on the radio, which you hadn't really been able to do that before. And now I feel like, even to an extent, I mean, the films you can make on an iPhone are insane. It's almost it's leveling the playing field to an extent. Technology and
things can be. like Billy. Okay, for example, Billie Eilish. I learned the other day how she records music. One song might have 100 parts from 100 songs, like from 100 takes in it, where like they're just clipping together little parts, and she doesn't sing like anything through it.
Yeah.
Until they like Frankenstein it all together, and then she learns what they just built. It's mind blowing.
Oh yeah,
it's like 2 second clip, 2 second clip, 2 second clip.
Did you ever know Dwight Chalmers?
Oh yeah, I love Dwight.
Yeah, great dude.
Mad genius.
Oh, he was. He got us sounding so good on that Carry Me Home album. But I remember doing vocal takes and him saying, "Hey, you want me to throw a little pitch correct on that?" And it was like, absolutely not. I was a purist, right? Like, we're gonna get this take.
Yeah.
And you know, one time you're like, man, my voice is like, just do it this once, and it's perfect. It's like, and that's where you get, it's like you make that one little corner, right, and then the next time I just.
And then you're just tying off there. Oh, give me the digital needle.
Exactly. But I really hate relying on that. Like, I like a good live take. I feel like, to me, in the studio, I think a live take just sounds better. It's a personal preference. But if you're doing it to a click track, I don't know, it just feels too processed to me.
It also depends on what kind of music you're doing, too.
100%.
I mean, if you're doing rootsy rock and roll, I want it to sound like a live take.
Yes.
But if it's slick synth pop kind of
Sure.
stuff, I mean, sure.
Fair enough.
I get why they're doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I just like the garage sound. I've always liked. I mean, I grew up with grunge, so I mean, and a lot of that was overpolished. Like the Nevermind album is super polished. But then you listen to like In Utero, and Cobain like completely was like, I'm gonna hire this producer that's known for just bringing.
I think my favorite record
sound
of that whole era is Loud Love, Soundgarden.
Soundgarden's Loud
And that's
Love
pretty raw.
Is a raw record.
Yeah,
But
it
also
sounds like they were just playing it in the studio.
But that was a different Soundgarden too. Like they really evolved through their career.
Oh yeah, man. That was the hardest hit. Like when he died, man. When Cornell died,
I cried.
It was the worst.
It was the worst death. My wife. I remember my wife saying, like, "You don't even know this guy." I'm like, "You don't understand."
Yes, I do.
It's Chris Cornell, baby.
He was our Robert Plant.
He was exactly.
Except Robert didn't die.
Oh God, Robert Plant's a douche, man.
I keep seeing these things about them doing new shows, like doing some one-off shows, like a little mini tour. But then they're like, "Oh, this is fake." But I think it's not. I think maybe they are. If I could see that, I would still go see it. Like
what's so tragic about the whole thing is, okay, I get that, Plant doesn't want to play those songs anymore, didn't want to be, whatever that was. But what has Jimmy been doing? You know what I mean? Like, why didn't he do something else?
Black magic. He's just hanging around summoning demons and shit. I don't know, man.
He's got to be.
I'm assuming he's just beyond rich and is just satisfied.
Well, he did that album with David Coverdale.
Yeah.
The Coverdale Page album. He's done some soundtrack stuff, but The Firm. He was in that band, The Firm. They had a couple of records in the 80s.
I mean, I don't... doesn't Zeppelin own their music? I mean, they're not one of those bands that got screwed over.
Yeah,
by
I think they
retain
retain the rights to their stuff. I'm pretty sure.
So I'm betting him and Robert are, like I said, just royalty rich and don't have to worry about it.
Oh, certainly.
I mean, if I don't know what I would do. I'd be weird as hell if I were that, like, independently, fuck you money,
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't see me either. I would just be, like, on an island somewhere, blowing shit up. I mean,
Well, I get. Well, I also ask that, like, if I was like a football coach or something, like, why would you put in all these hours when you're already a millionaire and do this thing that's just taking you away? But, like,
you're driven to do it.
You have that drive. Whereas, like, I get that attitude, too. Like, if I got to $1 million, I'd just peace out and just go live my life. But if you got a gift like that, for me, like, Jimmy Page was the guy that I worshipped as a kid.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I as much as I've watched about Zeppelin and stuff, I don't know if I know anything about how his personality is. As far as, I mean, he just may be one of those hermits.
I know very little about his person. He didn't do a lot of interviews.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's just it. Over the years, I mean, I've seen a million live videos and watched all the movies and stuff. They've got some new ones coming out.
Do they?
Yeah, a couple of new documentaries are coming out. I think that's why they're considering the tour. It's promotional kind of stuff.
Right, yeah.
But
Well, it's now or never. Those guys ain't spring chickens. They're what, in their 80s?
yeah, the one thing I saw, it was them, it was Jimmy and Robert and John Paul Jones.
Yeah.
Is he still alive? Yeah.
Yep.
And then they were going to have on one of the shows, it was going to be Tommy Ramone's son playing drums.
Why? Why wouldn't you have Bonzo's kid do it?
Bonzo has a tour, I think.
Oh,
I think
is he
it's-
playing with
With Bonham, I
Communion? Or is he playing with Bonham?
I don't know actually.
Well, what's the other band he's in? Black Country Communion? Is that what it's called?
Is that him?
Yeah.
Oh, I
that's-
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's the drummer for that.
Well, I don't know. I posted this the other day, and Robbie,
Good fucking drummer.
yeah, Robbie was saying that he was like, well, this can't be real because
You
Jason's
know
got
the
a tour. Sure, yeah. He's like, I don't think this can be real because Bonham has a tour, and I was like, well, I don't know. Who says he has to be the drummer?
Right.
I mean, it makes sense, but I actually saw Bonham open for the Cult on Sonic Temple.
Really?
In Memphis at the Pyramid.
Well, that's a cool show.
Dude, it was one of the first rock shows. One of the first handfuls. We were at the very first one at Soundgarden and
You saw Soundgarden?
it was Soundgarden and Guns N' Roses.
Holy shit.
It was the first rock show in the Pyramid.
Yeah.
And the next night
That'd have
was-
been, what, 90?
Something like
That was
that.
old. That would have been.
That was the next night that they had the riot in St. Louis because Axl Rose was being such a prick.
Yeah.
That night in Memphis, he was like, they took like 2 hours between shows.
God.
Like, people were angry.
Oh, I imagine.
We were up there pissing off the backs of the bleachers and stuff. Yeah. Down in
Guns
the
N'
lobby.
Roses is a weird band because they were not together long at all.
Man, I've got no real respect for those guys after that night. They were such dicks, and then just prima donnas.
But that's not the only time they were dicks. They were dicks the entire run they had.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Oh,
they
that's
self-sabotaged their own careers out of egos and drugs and all that shit. But the body of work they did in that short amount of time, as long-lasting as it is,
Yep.
because they technically only have you got Appetite for Destruction, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, Spaghetti Incident, and the Lies EP. I mean, that's a pretty
about it.
small body of work
Yeah.
for.
I mean, and a couple of those aren't really albums.
Right, there's a lot of covers on
Yeah.
the Use Your Illusions. Although I do love the what's the fucking Paul McCartney song they cover?
Oh, yeah.
What's the name of that song? God, are we so old? that
Wings, the Wings song.
the Wings song.
Uh,
Live and Let Die.
yeah, yeah.
I love their cover of that.
That is pretty good. I just can't listen to him. His voice drives me nuts. It's like him and Billy Corgan, man.
Oh, Billy Corgan's solo stuff is so obnoxious.
His voice just makes me want to choke him.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. I want to stick my fingers in his nose. Stop.
Yeah, it's like listening to RFK speak. I can't handle that either.
But no, I was saying we saw the Cult there with Bonham and Tora Tora. We went to see Tora Tora because they were playing in Memphis and we were big fans.
Right.
You know, they had the album out that had walking shoes and stuff
Yeah.
on it, Phantom Rider. And so we get there and, Bonham opens, or Tora Tora opens, they were good. Bonham comes on, they were pretty good.
Yeah.
But the Cult, I wasn't even a real big fan at that time. I
Yeah.
just heard them, but man, they blew me away.
Really? Isn't that
this day,
funny
I'm
how
like,
you
man.
can not be a fan of somebody and then you see them live and it changes your whole perspective?
Billy Duffy has a stage presence like very few people I've ever seen. There's just
Right.
something about that dude up there playing his guitar. It's just pretty mystical. About
Right.
I don't know. It was
Did that make you a fan? Did you start reading their stuff
I
then?
became a huge fan then.
Yeah.
I mean, I was already a bit of a fan, from Sonic Temple because it had just come out.
Right.
But I hadn't listened to Love or Electric or any of those older albums yet. But yeah, ever since, big fan. It just stuck with me.
That was System of a Down for me. I saw them at Ozfest. I was not a fan of their music. And I think Steal This Album was the one they had just put out.
See, I'm that way with them now. I mean, I haven't seen them, and
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan.
Yeah.
I probably need to see them.
Well, I wasn't a fan going into that show, and man, they just fucking knocked it. It was the most professional sounding set. They didn't speak. They just one song after another like it was one long track. Like they'd end one, they'd start another. And I left that show and got all their stuff. I'm a huge fan to this day, but that's a weird band too. They had a very Alice in Chains kind of harmony vibe. Like, there's not a lot of bands that really have that two vocal sound. And you got Alice in Chains, System of a Down, handful of others, but it's a really powerful sound if you can do it right.
Man, did you ever listen to the one band that ever really came out of Batesville, Mother's Day Out?
I've heard of them, but I couldn't.
You know Chuck Schaff from Dead Bird, and Chuck and Phil.
I
Schaff
know
Brothers.
who he is, yeah.
Yeah, Chuck was in, well, he wasn't originally. This band from Batesville, they got signed to, to record label and stuff after one show. They were incredible. But my buddy Lance was the guitar player, and then the record company kind of some shit. Anyways, he was out. Chuck came in. I've still got the album at the house. It's called Your Soul Is Wet.
Yeah.
Incredible album. Still stands up to this day.
Nice.
But it came out before, like, Rage Against the Machine, and
Right.
And so they've got a little bit of a hip hop kind of a. There's two singers. There's got Bryce and Mike, and they swap back and forth doing vocals.
Okay.
And I'd never seen anybody do that in a rock band before.
No.
And like I said, and they had kind of a hip hop sort of feel to it, but real heavy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was way ahead of their time, and so they were getting booked as rap metal. Like back before that was even a
Before
thing.
rap metal was a thing.
So, man, they got booked opening for Sir Mix-a-Lot in Memphis
No way.
at the Omni New Daisy Theater.
Wow.
Did you ever see those shows over there at the New
Uh-huh.
Daisy? Man, that was a great venue. I think it might still be there on Beale Street. But, I mean, a dump, but cool venue.
Right?
So me and all my friends are there, and the crowd is there to see Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yeah.
My boys come out, guitars loud and stuff.
Yeah.
The crowd was not digging it.
Yeah.
Oh, they were not digging it. Yeah. And so after the show, we're like helping them load out and get their amps out of there quick and stuff. Sir Mix-a-Lot comes through the back, like through the hallway with a big fur coat with two girls. Out my way, boys! Out my way!
Yeah.
I don't think we could have gotten out of there fast enough, man.
The 90s was a weird decade because, like, musically, it was like 90 through 95 was totally different than 96 through the rest. Because, like, toward the end of the 90s, you had, like, bands like Korn and Limp Bizkit and Creed, and, like, I don't know, it's like the record labels started almost creating their own bands to mimic, like, the grunge thing. After Cobain died, it was like, we want this, and whether you are this or not, we're going to pigeonhole you into this thing.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, man.
Yeah.
I think all the... It doesn't... Right now, I think that's the one good thing about the music industry. It doesn't feel like that's happening so much because there's so much independent recording and independent releasing and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, there's not a whole lot of, like, okay, there's one hair metal band that has a ballad. Everybody's a hair metal band with a ballad.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then
much
grunge,
more diverse.
everyone's got flannel and cutoffs and shit. That's all anyone looks like, and that's all anyone sounds like. And it's,
Even Collective Soul, which I do not consider grunge at all, on their first album, on the inside cover, they're all wearing flannels and jeans and boots. Like, that's the picture that the label had them take.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. Did you ever see the documentary
like
Hype?
Soul Asylum.
Yeah.
They look like, dudes dreads and stuff like that. They look like they're going to sound like Korn.
I know.
Oh, man.
Not at all. Did you ever see the documentary Hype about the Seattle scene?
I don't think I saw that one.
It was, it came out in the, probably 93, 94, but it was kind of a documentary on how the Seattle scene and, what was the record label everybody was on?
Sub Pop.
Sub Pop, yeah. Like, they talked to the Sub Pop guys, Jack Endino, and Chris Cornell was the drummer for Soundgarden first, and they're like going back that far. But there was, there's a funny segment in there where this lady's interviewing, I don't even remember, it was like Mike McCready or Stone Gossard from Pearl Jam or something. And she's like, how did you guys come up with this fashion look, with the flannel and all that? And he was like, we work in lumber yards and it's cold. That's how. And it was like such a, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And but then, like, all these stores in the mall were selling flannels and boot. Like, the culture started shifting to music.
I remember
it was weird.
I remember seeing Chris Cornell wearing duct tape shorts. He had some shorts that were covered in duct tape, and I don't know what video it was in, but we made Nigel some duct tape shorts immediately thereafter.
Nice.
like, oh man, we gotta have some.
Were you a fan of Audioslave?
Oh yeah.
Were you?
Yeah. It wasn't my favorite, but I appreciated it. I appreciated it for what it was. I mean, I don't know. It felt like Soundgarden light, sort of. I don't know.
I thought it was way more rage than Soundgarden. It was a weird. I wanted it to happen. I thought it would have been a cool pairing, but none of their albums really spoke to me.
No, man, I don't know.
Chris's solo stuff though, like when he's on his own, is incredible.
Oh yeah, that's man. One of the things I regret was missing that one of those solo tours that came pretty near here.
Yeah.
And all my friends went. And they were like, "Oh my god, it's the best thing we ever saw."
Yeah, I bet.
And then it wasn't that much longer.
Yeah.
Didn't have the chance anymore. So.
Oh, going back to Jimmy Page, did you ever hear the album he did with the Black Crowes, the live album, Live at the Greek?
No.
Yeah, dude, it's a fan. So it's Black Crowes featuring Jimmy Page, Live at the Greek, and it's a double album, and it's mostly Zeppelin covers with a couple old blues tunes, but it is awesome. And Steve Gorman, the Black Crowes drummer, I mean, he nails every Bonham part.
That's one of those bands that, like Black Crowes, I really love them. I don't have to listen to that first album. They don't like that first album. They will tell you that was a record label. Like, we did this for the record label. Then everything after that sounds like groovy blues, like just space blues. I love it.
They definitely. I like a lot of tracks on that first album, but yeah, it's a different band than everything after for sure. Yeah,
it definitely sounds like radio friendly.
Yeah. Southern Harmony was like kind of where they really got into their groove. Three Snakes. By Your Side is even a good record. Lions. I'm a fan of every one of their records because they were all so different.
And like none of those later albums even have a real good hooky song on there that sticks in your head. They're just good albums.
Did you ever hear the Before the Frost album? It was a double album, Before the Frost, After the Freeze, and they did this thing where it was a physical copy, but you could download kind of a gimmick thing. You could download the second disc, but it was real. Folky, had some real tasty tunes on it, but they did it live in front of an audience.
Huh.
So at the end of every song, which it was studio recorded, like all the mics and everything, but it was live. And so at the end of every song, you can hear like people clapping. It was just really bizarre, but it was a really good record. I think Warpaint was their last one. But I never thought those two would get back together, but they're jamming again.
Man, I lived with Nigel out there on Betty Joe Drive. We used to have a bunch of those big, giant wall posters.
Yeah.
And one of them was the Amorica album cover.
Yeah.
With just the red, white, and blue.
Yep, with the pubes.
With pubes everywhere.
Yep.
And it was just, like when you walked in our front door to the right, just a giant wall of pubes.
Yeah.
And so...
You remember the Walmart album cover?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
There were so many of those records back in the day, like... was it... Skid Row had Slave to the Grind that had like a clean version, and then they had another version that had like some dirty song. I don't even remember what the song was.
I don't either.
But they had two different versions because Walmart or somebody wouldn't carry the record because of it. It's so ridiculous.
That was the whole censorship thing when Tipper Gore and the parental labels and stuff. Do you remember when they started putting parental labels on?
I grew up in the Satanic Panic, man. I remember all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, those West Memphis crap and all that stuff. Yeah. They all thought that we were all into the devil.
Yes.
And we played it up, man. Like, me and Nigel and Joel, we would fuck with people. Like, we knew what they thought about us. And we thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
So we would, like, spray paint the neighborhood, like, with a big pentagram with horns and a tail on it and stuff.
Just trolling people.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And, like I said, but then the West Memphis stuff happened, and it kind of put it.
That was nuts.
I mean, it kind of put a scare in everybody. Like, man, that could have been any of us.
What was the story with that exactly?
Well, the boy...
They tied it back to Metallica somehow, right?
Well, no. The little boys disappeared. They find them cut up in a ditch with no blood anywhere around them, like they'd been cut up somewhere else and dropped off in this creek.
Yeah.
All kinds of suspects were overlooked. There was a bloody dude like in the gas station a mile from there that night that they never even investigated, all kinds of stuff. But Damien Eccles, the guy who ended up kind of the lead of the three when it became to like who was being interviewed and stuff.
Right.
he was kind of like the devil worshiper
Yeah.
of the community.
Yeah.
And he made some offhanded joke to one girl at some basketball or football game or something, like, leave us alone or you'll end up like the buyer's boys,
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And so then that little girl told the police,
Right.
and then it just snowballed, and they thought, well, we got our guy.
They pinned it on
They pinned it on these 3 kids.
Yeah.
Who there was absolutely no way they did it.
Yeah.
I mean, they finally got out taking an Alford plea, which means the state basically says, we still think you did it, but we're going to let you out if you'll just sign a piece of paper that says you did it.
Is that what happened?
That's what the Alford plea is. So they let them out basically by saying, if you'll basically say you did it, we'll let you out. You basically it lets the state off the hook. They don't have to go find who really did it. The state knows they don't.
God, that's irresponsible.
It's insane.
That's nuts.
But to this day, we don't know who did it.
Right.
Like I said, and we know who didn't do it. We know it wasn't those 3
Right.
kids.
Yeah.
And the guy that got them all really in trouble was Jesse Miss Kelly. There were 3 of them. Damien, kid, Boston kid, can't just name it, and then Jesse Miss Kelly. He was pretty slow, learning disabilities, and the police got him after hours and hours and hours to confess and say he saw and do it. His story was all over the place. He said
Right.
they did it at noon, and then the police said, well, wasn't it around dark? He's like, oh, yeah, it was around dark. I mean, that kind of stuff. The police led him through the interview and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So they were on death row.
Yeah.
For years. Like
Yeah,
those-
I knew that. I didn't realize they had gotten the plea deal.
well, that's the only way they got off death row.
When was that?
That was after remember the HBO special that came out?
Now, the only reason I knew about it was because, like, Stranger Things had done had some allusions to that case.
Watch
and
Paradise Lost.
Okay.
Paradise Lost is a HBO special that came out that basically laid all this stuff out. Once that came out, Eddie Vedder and all these stars got on board, got behind their case, and started trying to push to get him out of prison.
Right.
And
Really?
That's when it snowballed, and they ended up getting the Alford plea. But there's Paradise Lost and Paradise Lost 2. There's 2 documentaries.
Really?
They're both really good.
What's the second one add to it?
It just goes into more of the evidence that comes out later and stuff, and like it kind of opens some eyes up.
And when did they get out?
Shoot, I don't remember what year it was. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they were in for a long time. They were in there for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Before they got out, 23 years. Strangely, when I left working at JRs the first time, I went to work at a strip club. There was this bartender working there named Tony, and she was from Memphis, West Memphis, and her kid was the kid that like got away, but then got caught. Like it was dark. Like one of the kids apparently ran and then got ran down and killed. Yeah, it was pretty jacked up stuff. But yeah, she was broken over that stuff.
Yeah.
And once I met her, I was working at the strip club. Came out after we were talking and stuff. She was awful though, man. She was putting like Visine in girls' drinks and stuff to give them the shits.
Why?
She get mad at them. They wouldn't tip her. Like
Yeah.
they didn't tip her the way she thought they should tip her. She Visine their drinks and stuff. I figured it out and fired her.
Jesus,
It's
man.
dangerous.
That's sinister.
It can kill you.
Yes.
Yeah. Now Visine no longer will do that to you, but for years and years it would.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it pretty much is like 5 minutes to the bathroom. See a girl on stage dancing around a pole, and off their knees lock up. Tony and Tony.
That's nuts. Dude. How long did you work at the strip club?
2 years. Worst 2 years of my life.
Was it? That's got to be a horrible place.
Dude.
The kind of people in there.
Yeah, this is something I talked with Nicole about a little bit.
Oh, I listened to that episode. Yeah.
It was hard. It was the worst job I ever had, man. I'm still friends with my boss that originally trained me there. This guy named Paul. He's an old ex-wrestler from Memphis. He wrestled Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman.
No shit.
He's one of those guys. There was 2 guys in yellow and black suits of the Assassins. Yeah. That was him and Donnie Bass. But yeah, like all these old wrestlers used to come in there all the time, like Junkyard Dog.
Yeah.
Would show up at the strip club because they're buddies with Paul.
Yeah.
That was kind of neat.
Yeah.
But other than that, once they put me in charge.
Yeah.
No.
That's-
They ever did. I mean, just imagine. I mean, just your job is to constantly try to keep them from selling themselves and drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one time we had a guy. He broke in after hours, and like we used to have the glass door up front and the little glass door. And that was it. So after 3 a.m, somebody breaks in. I get the alarm call. Get up, get around, get over there. They backed up a truck, threw a chain around the ATM, and was going to take the ATM. Well, they just hooked it up to the bumper. Guess what? He ripped the bumper off, left the bumper in the parking lot attached to the
With
chain.
the fucking license plate on it?
Bingo!
Wow.
And they drove off and left
And
the
they
license
left
plate.
the license plate.
Left the license plate.
Can't make that shit up.
Dude, it was the dumbest thing. I show up. I didn't live very far from there. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, what's going on? And the cops right there laughing. They're like, well, check this out.
Looky what we got here.
Dude, people are idiots. Man, years after I was working there, I was working at Boca. And Keith probably mad at me for telling this story, but he lives in Florida now anyway. But he was our boss there at the restaurant. He was one of the owners. But he also was a district sales manager for one of the food distribution companies around here. And he was really good at it.
Yeah.
But he had one of his clients in town, and they were out bar hopping that night, and they ended up at the strip club. And Keith had a really nice, brand new Z06 Corvette. And convertible, looked like something a stormtrooper would drive. It was all white and black.
Yeah.
He had it parked out back, and him and his client were in there. And apparently during the night, they let some kid in, and they kicked him out. The official story was they wouldn't let him in, and he came back mad. They let him in, and then they threw him out once they realized he was underage. He leaves, comes back with his buddy with an AK-47.
What?
Pulls up out back. Boom, 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 boom. Shoots the shit out of the strip club. Whatever it is now, the Peppermint Hippo, or but it used to be Regina's, same one I ran. Shot that place full of holes. And then they see Keith's car back there, and they think that's got to be the owner's car.
Right.
So they turned it, shot his Corvette up, man. Oh, he was so mad. And so I was at work.
Wow.
I was at work, and I get a phone call. It's like, hey, check it out, man. Keith's car got shot up, blah, blah, blah. So I click on the news, and he's telling me, he's like, man, don't say anything. Just be quiet about it. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So I click on the news, and there's a reporter standing there outside the strip club, and you see Keith's car go by real slow on a wrecker. And his was the only one in town that I knew of at that point that looked just like that anyway.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I guess everybody knows now.
What do you think of the Cybertrucks? The design of them?
Man, it looks like a third grader was given a design program. It said, build a vehicle. And they got about halfway through it, and they got disinterested and stopped.
Yeah.
They're just ugly.
They're ugly, but they're different. See, I like that they're different, but I don't like the design.
Okay, if it was different and everything was functional, the headlights. They're not up top where you think there's a strip across the front up high. It looks like headlights.
Yeah.
They're not. They're down below in the underneath part of the grill, and packs full of snow.
Is that right?
Yep. Packs full of snow. Real easy.
Huh.
Stuff like that. I mean, they just didn't put any forethought into little things like that. And then there's the whole, if they had as many fires at Ford when they were building those Pintos as Tesla's had, they would have shut down a lot more Ford than they did just the Pinto. I mean, good Lord, they've had so many deaths in those cars between the fires and the automatic driving.
Yeah. The automatic driving scares me. I didn't know about the death count. It's
way up. There were like 27 people that died in fires from Ford Pintos. There are like 80 something people that have died in fires from Tesla so far, and that's not even the slamming on brakes in tunnels, causing pileups. None of that crap. It's not good, and I believe that's why Elon is so this far deep into Trump, and he's doing the same thing in England right now that he just did here.
Yeah, I'm
He's doing
starting
the
to notice
same
that.
thing. He's sucking up over there. He's trying to get involved. He's trying to be the man over there too.
Yeah.
How supervillain is that? He's trying. Okay,
My
he's-
verdict's still out on the guy.
There is a regulatory commission that is about to hammer Tesla on their cars.
Okay.
He knows it. If they can get rid of that, which is part of his stated, plan, well, then he didn't have to worry about it, and that's going to save him billions of dollars.
Yeah, absolutely.
And lots of lawsuits and headache.
Well, regardless of what side of the aisle we're on, I don't understand how Doge is legal. Like, can Trump just say, hey, I'm going to have these guys go in and slash programs that have been passed by Congress?
Well, that's just it. They
How
can't.
can
They
they?
can't do anything.
It's going to turn into lawfare.
Well, they can't do anything. All they can do is suggest. It's just
Right.
like the debt ceiling they just tried to crush, or
Yeah.
they tried to
The
kill
bit- yeah,
the
yeah,
debt
yeah.
bill, whatever.
Yeah.
The funding bill.
Yeah.
He's not elected official, and all he had to do was tweet a few times, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, they shut it down. But then, cooler heads prevailed. Like 60 Republicans voted to not go the direction. Like, you see the bill that the Doge people put forth to replace. They voted that down immediately.
Yeah.
The big old FU, in the face of the Doge committee.
Right.
It's,
Well, they ended up getting a third one passed, though, right?
Yeah.
It was pretty small.
yeah. Well, but it wasn't.
It was just a continuing resolution.
It's a continuing
right?
resolution, but it was not the stripped down absolute dumpster fire that.
Yeah. The middle one was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in order to get this one done, Republicans had to promise to strip $2.5 trillion out of the budget on the next round.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to whisper in the ear of Trump, "Oh yeah, we'll do this if you'll let us do this now."
Right.
And he's not even the fucking president yet.
No.
That's what's weird.
Yeah.
Like, they're running around Washington like imagine if you were living here and somebody just started moving in and just started doing shit.
Yeah.
They just started cooking and eating and throwing parties at your house and stuff. Like, dude, we're not out for 2 more months. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, well, fuck you. We live here. I mean, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. It is kind of bizarre that it does feel like he's the president now.
And it just feels like blatant that they called it Doge, and he's got the Doge coin. That's his. That's,
Well, it does. Department of Government Efficiency. It works out.
but it's like everything Trump does. There's an underlying way to make money on a side hustle off of it.
Right.
Like selling fucking tennis shoes and Bibles and shit. I mean, there's got to be a way to make money
Those
off of
fucking hats, dude. People are. I'm one of them.
Those
dude.
Chinese hats,
Fucking
man.
hats. No, they're made in America. They're made by
Are they
Cali.
now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
they are?
they're Cali.
it. Okay,
Cali
they
fame.
weren't for a long time.
They're Cali fame. They're made in California. But yeah, it's been a weird fucking year, man. The word unprecedented got old 5 years ago. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole COVID shit and just.
I don't know, man.
You got to at least celebrate the fall of mainstream media, though, right?
How has it fallen? I mean,
I don't think there's a trust in the media. I don't think there was trust in it before Trump.
well, there really wasn't. But there was at least a sense of dignity in most of it. Like especially when it wasn't, when news wasn't talking about something particularly political, you could at least know that it's in the best interest. It felt like, but it feels like even that trust has been eroded.
Yes.
Like, you can't even talk about wildfires without someone saying, "Oh, they're lying." I mean, it's there's so much knee jerk to anything
Well,
that the media
sure,
says,
sure.
that it's too much. I mean, there's a happy medium somewhere.
I don't know. I like the fact that people are going to podcasts. I think it's interesting that people are going to their, and maybe you shouldn't be getting nude. It's like
I
the
was
Joe
gonna
Rogan
say,
thing.
I mean-
Like, should you be getting medical advice from Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah,
But then
I mean-
again, the experts have been full of shit on a lot of stuff.
It's true.
And always have been.
This is true.
The expert doesn't necessarily make you right just because you have the credentials.
But it does make you more likely to be right. Definitely slims the chances of being wrong if you've
Sure.
at least got an education in the field.
Fair enough.
So,
Absolutely.
a lot of podcasts and a lot of non-mainstream media is just conjecture. I mean,
Certainly.
I don't mind, which is great. People's opinions, and that's how the world goes around. But if you present it as fact, like, especially I know people that just will say shit that they heard, and then like just be convinced that it's fact because they heard it third hand somewhere.
Yeah.
That's it feels
That's
like a game,
dangerous.
It feels like a game of telephone.
Yes.
So by the time the eighth person gets it,
You're right.
it's and then it gets put out.
No, I'm with you. I was looking up, Farmington's where I grew up, and somebody was asking me what the population was, and I didn't know because when we lived across from the population sign, it was 2,800.
Yeah.
And I looked it up the other day, it's 10,000 people.
Dude, I moved to Prairie Grove in 2012, and it was 4,500, and I think we're up. I think the last was over 9,000.
Prairie Grove's that big now?
Mm-hmm.
God.
Dude, it's one big housing development everywhere.
I guess I always go in from the back way to Prairie Grove, so like I don't see like the town of it.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, Prairie Grove also goes all the way to Farmington.
Yeah.
Like the city limit starts just right past Farmington.
Yeah.
Like I think Farmington High School is actually in Prairie Grove technically. Like just past that stoplight.
I think the line's a little bit past that, but I don't know. Yeah.
But it's real close.
It's real close. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's on the edge.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's all that and all those housing conditions being built out that way. When I first moved out there, it used to take me 5 to 10 minutes to get like into Farmington, into town, and now it's got in the morning. It's half an hour, 45 minutes. Sometimes.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Man, when I was working at the weed shop and I had to drive to Rogers every day, oh man, it got longer and longer and longer.
Doesn't that suck though?
Yeah.
I mean, we've grown so much, and I'm hearing people moving here for jobs, and they're bringing their families with them, and like everybody's coming here. The infrastructure is just getting overloaded.
Bentonville and Rogers is what blows my mind, because I remember when I first moved here, nothing was in there.
No.
Like, in Bentonville and Rogers.
No
one went there for anything.
Nothing.
No one and if you were on Dixon Street, it was a whole lot of Bentonville and like Rogers people down
it was
there
the
partying.
Mecca.
Yeah, everyone came down.
Yes.
They were all getting DWIs going home, but they all came down here to party. But now there's they've got their own squares, they've got their own things going on. I love what Rogers did with downtown Rogers.
Yeah.
Bentonville's pretty fucking bougie and manufactured feeling, but it's still got a downtown thing to it.
Yeah.
Hell, the Bentonville Dive just got sold.
Yeah.
They jacked their rent on them.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't even keep a dive bar downtown Bentonville.
I know it.
But yeah, it's
Doesn't that make you sad though? Like the progression of it, like just I don't know.
we all get old, man. I feel like I'm that guy in my front. Get off my
Yes.
lawn. Get off my live music venue.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. It's to me it's sad.
Well, the first one that saddened me a long time ago was when Chester's went out.
Oh yeah,
And
that hit me hard too. And
Dave Bass. God love him.
Yeah.
And they're just building fucking generic dance clubs. And I don't know how many times has he renamed that one spot where Chester's has been. Now it's Halo, I think.
I don't even know.
Dude, it's been like 8 different places. He just changes the interior a little bit, changes the name. Yeah. Like every 4 or 5 years. Yeah, like it was big for a little bit.
Yeah.
It was God, I don't remember what it was called over the years. I don't remember what it was when it first wasn't Chester's anymore.
I don't.
But it's been so many things.
Yeah.
And I guess that's how he keeps it fresh and keeps it like new, is just by changing the interior and the name. But it's just it's shitty.
Dave's on Dixon was a sweet place though for a minute.
Man,
I saw a lot of cool
I
bands.
worked there when it was JR's Ballroom, because before it was Dave's, it was JR's Ballroom.
Really?
Yeah, JR's built that.
Okay, I didn't know this.
Strange story. Ron, Jimmy Rapert's buddy, Ron, built the bar that was all the way down that left side of the building.
Oh yeah.
Ron's about 5'6". Ron built that bar to be comfortable for him.
That's hilarious.
So it would be like me and Sellers and a whole bunch of big, like 6'3" dudes back
Yeah.
there trying to bartend behind that thing, and the bar is like way down below your waist.
That's funny.
You're up above the crowd anyway, and then you're, like the bar's way down here. Oh, it was the most uncomfortable thing in the world. Oh, I hated that.
That's funny.
But yeah, it was JR's Ballroom, and then he sold it to Dave's.
Okay.
Dave Bass. Matter of fact, I'll tell a story that Chris King may not want anybody to know. Remember Chris?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When we were moving out of the ballroom and letting Dave's take over, we got all the furniture out, all the PA and everything out, left like everything out of it was ours. And the only thing really left was a telephone back in the office. And King pissed all over it and left it for him.
Nice. Gotta leave a little something.
Yeah. Then they moved out of there. Then they opened Dixon Theater. Remember that?
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely.
That was gonna be a lot.
Some comedy shows there and stuff that were really cool.
It was going to be a live music venue at first, and then they realized, I think, pretty quickly that it sounded awful in there for live music.
Well, it was a live music venue. We played there a couple times, and it wasn't great.
Yeah, man, one of the best sounding shows I've ever heard though was in there. It's because it was Ian Moore doing a solo show.
Ooh,
I've got it on CD. Nigel recorded it.
Really?
Yeah, I've got it somewhere. I've got two. It's a
Nigel
double.
got a sound recording off the board.
Yeah,
nice.
I've got a double CD somewhere that Nigel did.
Awesome.
But that sounded incredible. But everything else sounded like shit.
Yeah.
But then so they made it more of a dance club.
Yeah.
I used to love going there on Sunday nights, drag show.
Yeah.
Dude, did you ever go there for drag show?
I did actually. I went once. Yeah.
That was some of the.
It's a wild fucking deal. Yeah.
Dude, it was so much fun because it was like
fun,
a bunch of drag queens, a bunch of gay guys, a bunch of straight girls,
Yeah.
and a few of us.
Yeah.
When they're sharking around.
Oh yeah, it was wild. Yeah.
Oh, I miss it.
Yeah, it's just a different vibe all around, everywhere.
You know, I mean, then I worked at Gypsy for a long time.
Yeah.
That when we first opened that, there was that dirt parking lot out there between us and
Yes.
Jose's. That caused more fights than anything ever.
Oh, I bet.
There was no exit. You had to pull in there and you got stuck.
Yeah.
You'd be backing out and backing into other cars, running over people and shit. People out there brawling in the dirt. So after, I don't know, about a year of that, Roger Kelly found his buddy Skunk on some Skunk Baxter, I think. No, that's a guitar player. Anyway, some guy named Skunk right here at the concrete company. Skunk just came in there and poured it for us. And we just did it. And then Roger built that big stage out back. And then the city came along and we're like, hey, what's this?
They just did it?
Oh, yeah, we didn't get a permit or anything.
Nice.
Yeah, they were like, oh, we can't do this. Oh, man, what's our property? It's part of our, and we thought it was cool.
Yeah.
What are they going to do, make us jackhammer
Yeah,
up?
we can jackhammer it
And
up.
the city was just like,
Yeah.
that was it. I think he kind of got away with it because he proved that the stage was a temporary stage because it wasn't hard mounted, like it wasn't sunk into the concrete.
Right.
It was just setting on there. You could have drug it with
You
a tractor.
could have, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of one of the loopholes where he's like, well, it's not a permanent stage.
It was a good stage.
Oh, it was great.
It was a great stage. It was played some shows here with Hunker Down. Man, that was a fun band too.
Oh, dude. And I can't tell you how many times they played where Chachi be back there drumming, puking on the drums, still playing.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. Those guys would drink pitcher after pitcher after pitcher. Like, they didn't get beers. They got pitchers.
Yeah.
Like, they'd all have a pitcher.
Yeah.
Those guys and the Brock Landers band. Do you remember them?
I don't know that I ever saw them play. I remember the name.
They were kind of a frat boy cover band.
Yeah.
They were a lot of fun. They would pack the place out.
Yeah.
It's my buddy Eric Danielson, who's kind of my lawyer now. He was a bass player, but like they were like hunkered down though. Like Brad, the guitar player, would be drunk. He'd be so drunk he'd be laying on the floor trying to play. He wouldn't miss a lick.
Yeah.
But he'd be on the floor. Same way with Freddie from Hunker Down.
Oh yeah, Freddie.
Man,
Freddie could shred.
Freddie had his bachelor party at JRs.
Yeah.
And I mean, just hammered, wasted, and they were playing that night, and they were all wearing these cow costumes with big udders on them and stuff. We can't find Freddie. Like, they're trying to go on stage. Can't find Freddie. Found him back there in the liquor room, back behind the sound booth.
Mm-hmm.
He's there, passed out, face down in the liquor room, like in a puddle of his own vomit. So get him up, clean him up, get him in the cow costume, get him up on stage, put him on a stool, lean him up against the wall. They put his guitar around him. Doesn't miss a lick.
Doesn't miss a lick. Isn't that funny?
His muscle memory kicked in.
Isn't
He
that
didn't miss
funny?
shit.
That's wild how that works though.
I don't know how the hell he did it.
They had a good run. When did they stop playing?
don't know. The last time I saw Hunker Down was Chrissy Dennis had Wildflower down Dixon Street. Hair. She had her 50th birthday party at West End a few years ago, 5-6 years ago, and that's the last time I saw them. But that was like a one-off show.
Yeah. I know they've done some one-offs, but
I don't know that. I'm not sure where they all live now. I know Kyle still lives here. I don't know that any of the rest of them even live around here.
really,
I'm not sure. I haven't seen Freddie in forever. I don't know where Chachi is. I think. Oh Christ, the bass player. Why am I drawing a blank?
I can't help you there.
I think he lives
know.
up in Missouri.
Yeah.
I think he lives on a farm in Missouri. So I think he might be a pilot. That's the last I heard. I don't know.
I'm gonna take a piss. You think Baltimore or Pittsburgh can make any dent in the playoffs this year?
Man,
I just don't feel. I don't know. I just don't feel like the North is legit this year. You know, like Pittsburgh's winning some games, but
it's hard to pick against them, though, man. I mean,
I know.
I watch them play, and I'm like, God, they actually look pretty good. Russ is cooking. I mean,
But then they played the Eagles last week and got exposed, and I wasn't super huge on the Eagles, and greater than, less than. I don't know. I just don't feel like anybody in this division can make a deep run. To me, it's Bills and Chiefs, and that's it. And there might be a surprise, like Houston may surprise somebody, but I doubt it.
Man, Houston didn't look good today.
Houston did not look good today at all.
No, and Tank Dell's hurt now, and I think he might be really hurt.
Yeah, yeah. But the NFC is going to be a fucking struggle to get through. Those playoffs are going to be nuts.
Man, like I said, the parity in the league, man, it's nice, but it's also like frustrating when you're trying to like play fantasy football and like like DraftKings and all that shit. It's like, oh man, this week they might not do anything.
Yeah, I get it. So how did you and Nicole meet? And when did y'all meet?
Man, honestly, like she was in the same area as me, like kind of doing the same things I was doing for years.
Yeah.
And we didn't run across each other somehow. Like didn't know her forever. Mm-hmm. And then she went off and became a prison bitch for a while and did her thing, and then came. I didn't meet her till she came back to town, and it was kind of through friends of friends.
Yeah.
And I think we met like online as far as like officially, and then but we had like I don't know 200 common friends.
Yeah.
We've always run in different circles and just happened to miss each other over the years. Yeah, if I feel like I've known her for longer than I've known her.
Right.
It's what's strange.
Yeah, she's one of those people.
I feel like we probably met along the way somewhere we just, didn't like really interact with one of those things. That's what it feels like. But yeah, it's quirk.
Yeah. She's doing a hell of work, man.
Oh man, I had fun when I did her shows.
That was a fun one to listen to. And that was really cool to, like, I remember seeing that you were on the show. I was like, man, I fucking know that guy.
Oh man, you live somewhere long enough, you have a few stories to tell.
Well, you probably got more than the average fucking bear. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I can grab one too. You can keep talking.
Yeah, man. Remember the first night I was a bouncer, I got maced.
Did you really?
Dude, first night. There was a fight downstairs at JRs, and we get them outside. Me and Dougie get them split up, and so get them all outside. And I'm holding one dude, kind of got his arms locked up behind him, behind his head.
Yeah.
And Dougie's got the other guy, and there's some guy and this girl standing over here on the side watching. And Dougie's dude gets loose, and he goes running over and grabs this girl's keychain, and she's got a mace on it.
Yeah.
And he runs up, and of course I'm holding the guy like with my arms like this, so my head's here and his head's here, and she just and just maces the shit out of both of us.
No shit. How bad is that?
Man, it made me mad more than anything.
Really?
So like my knee jerk reaction was to throw the dude I had and then chase the dude that just maced me into the street. I grabbed him and jumped on him, and I just started pounding on him in the street. And I couldn't see anything. My eyes were shut. Just,
right.
You motherfucker. I swear to God. Alan Tauber and those guys drugged me off of him. And I went to the bathroom. We had an employee bathroom. It's kind of in a hallway. It's got 2 doors up. So I went there and washed off and stuff. Went back downstairs to go to work, and like everyone, Van Dynen and all those guys were behind the bar. They're like, dude, go home. Oh my God, you smell like mace.
Like it was affecting them.
Oh yeah, like
It's that
especially in the
strong.
basement, you know. Like
Yeah?
there's no circulation.
Yeah, 0.
So I wandered back down to the basement, maced everyone with my clothes, and then went home, took a long shower, like scrubbed off real good, and went back to work. Got back, 45 minutes later, and didn't smell anywhere near as much like mace. Luckily, it was just kind of like keychain mace. I think there's much,
Yeah, there's probably much more potent shit.
I'm sure there is, but I'll promise you right now that stuff probably won't really protect you. That's on your keychain if someone is mad enough.
Right.
Because, like I said, it just made me really angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude regretted it pretty quick. Oh. Dude, we used to be able to get away from stuff like that back then, though. Like,
Yeah, different world.
dude, you remember Dougie?
Mhm.
Dougie Fresh. God rest his soul. Some tweaker and his girlfriend were fighting underneath. Remember, they had the pool table underneath the stairs?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And they were over there fighting underneath the stairs. I mean, just going at it. And we go over and separate them. And I've got the dude, and Doug, and the girl's she's being the super aggressive one.
Mhm.
She's obviously twacked out of her mind. And so I wait a couple minutes or a few seconds, let Dougie kind of get her upstairs about halfway before I start going to the stairs with her boyfriend. And as I'm coming up, I look up, and she kind of gets loose from Dougie, and she spins around, and she screams. And excuse my language, America and the world. She screams. She turns around and screams. And Dougie is a extremely black man from Brooklyn, New York, football player. She spins around and kicks him in the nuts and screams, "Fuck you, never!" And Dougie just goes, boom, and drops her like a sack of potatoes.
Oh,
man.
my God.
Knocked her out cold. And he just picks her up off the stairs, throws her over his shoulder, carries her up outside. And like, I've got the guy, and I'm just like, oh shit, how's this going to go down? We get outside, and Dougie turns around, and he asks the guy I'm holding, he goes, "Where's your car?" And the guy's like, "Right there." And he throws her on the hood.
Oh,
Goes-
my God.
Goes, "Get her out of here."
Yeah. Damn.
And, I mean,
She got off easy.
she kind of did. I mean,
She kind of did.
But yeah, I mean, I was like, we can just knock women out in this moment.
You're right.
They were like, well, she kicked him in the nuts and called him a nigger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's not gonna fly.
I was like, that's pretty 2 big no-nos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, I miss Dougie.
When did he pass?
Oh man, it's been a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a while.
Yeah, man, they claimed he killed himself. I don't know.
You don't think so?
I don't know, man.
What do you
I
think?
really don't want to get into.
No, we don't have to.
I didn't think he did for a long time. I thought there was some stuff between him and some local cops, but I think it ended up being he did.
You watch Yellowstone?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Have you seen any of the new seasons? There's a situation where some people are called in to make a hit. Oh, you got no, to make a hit and to see the efficiency that these people have to create make it look like a suicide, right?
Yeah.
They hold you up. They put it in your hands. They pull the trigger. They drop. They get out of there.
Yeah.
It's obvious suicide, and if it's an obvious suicide, you're not going to do the investigation, right? That
Yeah. Well,
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't have.
I'm not
that's
talking about
that's the way
that
I felt about
situation.
it. That's the way I felt about it in the beginning, and then some things came out later that was like, oh, yeah. Maybe
Well, I'm not
I
even
did.
talking about that situation. But I'm saying people. That's
Oh yeah.
it's done.
Yeah.
Like these guys get out of the military. They have these skill. They've got a skill set, right? You can make millions of dollars killing people and getting out of there scot free. You know how not to leave evidence, right? You do 3 or 4 jobs a year. Like, why wouldn't you do that if you were out of the military? You know what I mean?
Dude, private security firms will hire psychopaths.
Yes.
I mean, like, I just watched a thing about the LAPD and how the head of the LAPD also owns a private security firm that hires cops to get fired from the LAPD. Like, cops that have been, one cop is accused of molesting 200 kids. got fired from the LAPD, gets hired by the firm that is run by the
Get
head
out
of
of
the LAPD.
here.
I mean, a litany of things that this company was like,
Shady.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So,
It doesn't take much for corruption to take root, man.
man, especially in great big organizations where people feel invisible.
Yeah, because it's so big, you can just kind of maneuver.
I always kind of thought that the LAPD had been, somewhat cleaned up since the 90s, because of all the corruption, all the riots. And
Really?
I
You
mean,
thought
I mean, they've been making efforts, like public efforts in order to, I mean, they've been making a
Sure,
show
yeah,
of it at least.
Yeah, sure, fair.
And so, yeah, I guess the show is just that. But this is all recent stuff, yeah. This is just, I think, 2 weeks ago. I was watching the video. I mean, it was this woman at City Council, like railing. What it was is the LAPD was trying to get money for children's programs that they were
Okay.
sponsoring. And this woman was like, why do you want money for children's programs when you guys are the most corrupt police department in the country? And then she just went off and listed all these things.
Really?
And like people in the crowd were like, facts. I mean,
Really?
yeah. And I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I was pretty
Yeah.
blown away. Once I saw it, then I started digging into it. And I was like, oh, she's right.
Really?
Yeah.
So you did some research.
Yeah, like I said, I kind of thought that they'd turn a corner, but apparently not.
So what? So a lot of it was just virtue signaling.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah.
We're cleaning it up, but we ain't cleaning shit up.
I mean, you give people that much power. I don't know, and I think part of the problem, and I've been saying this since the Gulf War was a few years into it. You bring door kickers back and integrate them right into police departments.
Yeah.
You can't train that out of them. They're not trying to. You keep that door kicker mentality
Yeah.
coming from Iraq or wherever, or, wherever you've been, going door to door looking for people, then you put
It's
them on police.
ingrained in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a, ask questions later kind of situation.
Sure.
And we've been doing that since when? Since 2003,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think
It's
that's
a
part of the
slippery
problem.
slope.
I think it's part of the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally think we should pay cops an inordinate amount of money, but we should also make them inordinately trained.
Yes.
They should be legal scholars.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, teachers and cops, man, pay them a shitload of money.
Yeah.
But make them earn it.
Yeah.
Make them go through all the trainings, all the psychological trainings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cops need a year of legal training. You would think, at least 6 months of it.
I don't know.
I think the whole entire academy now is 6 months, something like that.
Yeah.
I know my nephew went, and something happened to him that was so shitty that he wouldn't go back. He wouldn't tell me what it was. He
Really?
was just like, nope, don't want. He wanted to be a cop real bad.
Really?
Wouldn't
Like
go-
this was his dream. He went to the academy and he was like, done.
He left quick.
No
He was just like,
shit.
nope, don't want anything to do with it. My cousin, who did make it through the academy, got shot in the chest on day one.
Killed?
No, he's lucky. He was wearing a vest. He's like 6'8". He's big. Dude.
Jeez, that's a big old dude.
And yeah, he's wearing a vest though. And they were in like day one, day two, whatever. And one of the other trainees, whatever, had a loaded round. It went off, shot him in the
A
chest.
trainee shot him?
Somebody, I think it was one of the other trainees. Gun went off, shot him in the chest.
God.
So, but he didn't quit. Somehow, that wasn't enough to make him go, nah.
But could you imagine doing that job? Walking up to a random car, you don't know what you're going to find.
Man, I got a lot of respect for cops in that.
So do I.
But I don't want them doing that. I want them sitting in like substations like firemen,
Yeah.
waiting for calls.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're just out there initiating contact for profit. That's what they're doing.
Fair.
Legally, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And if they were just sitting, people say, "Oh, you're preventing crime when they're out there." Are they? Maybe
I mean, just the presence of them.
Maybe put them in. Maybe have a presence in certain neighborhoods where crime rates are high. But otherwise, put them in substations like firemen and wait for a phone call.
Yeah.
And then go out and do shit. That's what they normally do anyway. They react to crime. They don't
Right.
normally stop crime.
Yeah, fair.
So, depend on your own wits a little bit. And then if that doesn't work, call the cops after.
Right.
But like I said, I mean, like, I don't think a cop's ever been driving down the road and prevented somebody from breaking into an apartment.
Right.
Or prevented the domestic violence.
Right.
Or any of those things, which is 90% of what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Police is a weird deal because, like you said, I respect the shit out of the people who do that job. There's a huge potential for corruption and all that too. So it's a weird.
And I mean, and I also get the. I mean, they're out there playing fucking roulette on the freeway, looking for busts. I mean, they're looking for drugs. They're playing random odds. A lot of times they're not there
Sure.
looking for shit like that, just hoping they're hitting people.
Yeah.
But I mean, what difference in the crime rate would it make if they didn't catch them at that point? If they were trying to catch them at the end point or the beginning points?
Well, zero.
Yeah, I mean, if you weren't, I don't know. I just don't know how much of that catching it in transport
Right.
really makes any sort of dent. All it really does is create money for the districts.
Right.
So
No, that's absolutely true.
I don't know. It seemed like it would save more money in the long run for all that gas and all the crap that goes along with patrolling and all the danger of it.
When was the last time you saw a police car?
State police on the freeway. I mean, that's about it.
That's about it.
How many countries have undercover cops out pulling people over?
I don't know.
I think that should be illegal.
I do too.
Dude, if an SUV rolls up with me at night with lights, I mean, I don't know. Especially like some of the odd cars they use, like in smaller towns where they've taken some drug dealer's car and converted it.
Yeah.
They're driving around in a Tesla.
Yeah.
Like, no, man.
I know.
Don't pull me over in a Tesla with blue lights.
No, that is kind of this.
I mean, that makes me want to put my hand on my gun immediately. That puts everybody in a bad spot.
Yeah, it's not good. I don't know, but how? Even with all the training in the world, I mean, I guess it obviously would help. I mean, military officers are highly trained. I mean, you train these police officers for the same kind of stuff, but man, it's there's so many random factors to every situation.
Yeah.
That you're going into. You can't. I don't know.
I said, and you put grunts on those front lines,
Yeah.
like here.
Yeah.
You're going to get violent results.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're not going to want to de-escalate. I mean, not in their heart. They've been trained to escalate, and finish. So it's slippery slope.
It is.
So I'd train them like lawyers. I mean, like make them spend 2 years in school and then pay them $100,000 a year. I don't care.
Yeah.
But make it worth it.
I hear you. I'm fine with that. Not a bad solution.
I'm sure my cousin will love it.
I don't know, man. I don't have all the fucking answers. I know everybody thinks they do, but everybody's trying to get by.
That's it.
Yeah,
most people just want to be left alone.
Yeah,
Just like
exactly.
Hank Williams Jr. says.
Just let's fucking, get through the day. I don't know. I feel like life has gotten so much more complicated in the last 20 years than it was. And maybe I was just a naive kid that, didn't have bills to pay. But maybe it's just part of growing up,
Man,
But
that's the idea, is just to not grow up.
yeah, you gotta, you can't ever forget that childhood mentality. Like that wonder, that curiosity.
Every once in a while, I just like to piss myself just to take me back to that.
Good, you should.
Just let it go.
If that works for you, that's cool. But
Well, speaking of, I'm about to.
Yep. Well, we'll wrap it up. Chris Gray,
Brother man.
thank you, sir. This was awesome. Great
Good talking
connecting
to you, man. Yeah.
This won't be the last time.
And
I'm
like I
sure.
said, you just live right down the road from me. Shit,
Yeah, that's
so-
awesome. And I'm gonna hit up Nigel too. I'd like to
Dude,
see him.
No kidding. He's kind of hard to get, man.
Is he?
He's Nigel. He's focused and he's always busy, and he's when he's not at work, he's practicing with his band. He's always posting videos. So yeah, good luck. But
all right. Fair enough, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming on, bro.
Yes, sir.